So quite a few people have been asking to make a UFC 284 early prediction video, so here it is, UFC 284 Makhachev versus Volkanovski, and I'm excited to break down the card. It's a pretty fun pay-per-view card, to be fair. It's pretty top heavy, but aside from that, the whole prelim card is going to be banger fights. There's going to be wars on this card, and there's going to be a lot of fights to look forward to. In my opinion, I do apologise for the late upload today. I was stuck in Jerusalem. It's a real place. I've been trying to find it for a very long time, and it is beautiful. But I've finally made it home to make the video, and I will be returning to Jerusalem tomorrow, so I won't be making videos tomorrow. I'm actually going to a Post Malone concert, but yeah, as always, BetUS link, 125% sign up bonus, you know the drill, and let's just get straight into it. Junior Tafa versus Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Already made a video about this on my channel. Very much looking forward to the matchup. Junior Tafa making his UFC debut. 4-0. He's fought 4 times in 5 months, all of them first round KOs except for the one fight against Calvin Fitial. And he just recently knocked out Tsuyoshi Sadario in the first round, who's a very good Japanese prospect. Former sumo wrestler as well, who had good wins on his record. Junior Tafa, also the younger brother of Justin Tafa, and former ranked glory kickboxer. Very fast hands, he loves to brawl, he's got power, he got heaps of KOs in glory. Really fun fighter. I'll probably make a shorts video on him sometime very soon. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, he's 9-0. He's a boxer. This is going to be a stand-up heavyweight fight. It's going to be a brawl. It's going to be a war. He got his contract on Dana White's Contender Series after knocking out Danilo Suzace. But before that, he did beat Thomas Peterson, who's a very, very good fighter. And then he fought twice in the 3 weeks for the UFC over Jared Vandeera and Chase Sherman. And now he's stepping in on somewhat short notice to fight Junior Tafa. Very fun matchup. I've got Tafa by KO in the fight, and most people do have Tafa in that fight, 62% to 38%. But Cortes-Acosta maybe could pull off the upset. He is the more experienced MMA fighter, but the fight's going to take place on the feet, and I like Tafa on the feet. Pound for pound, most random fight to take place on this card. Zubaira Tukhugov versus Elves Brenner. Elves Brenner, short notice replacement here. He was replacing Yoel Alvarez, but I do like Elves Brenner as a fighter, but I don't think that he's going to be able to beat Zubaira Tukhugov. I just like fighters from Shootbox, Diego Lima, the same gym Charles Oliveira trains for, the same gym that Daniel Willie Cat Santos trains at, Matias Mendonça. A lot of up-and-coming Brazilian fighters with very, very exciting styles train at that gym, and Elves Brenner is definitely one of them, but I do think Zubaira Tukhugov is just going to be a little bit too much for Elves Brenner, so I've got to go with him. Tukhugov's also beaten some pretty solid guys in the UFC, such as Ricardo Ramos. That was a fight that was a long time in the making, got cancelled a couple of times. Kevin Aguilar was a pretty good win too, split decision loss to Renato Moicano, although it was 6 years ago. Zubaira Tukhugov has a lot of cancelled fights. A lot of the time it's because he's pulling out of fights which he doesn't have a favourable matchup in, but my goodness, a lot of pullouts in that fight there. Jenny Mullarkey versus Francisco Prado. I've got to go with Francisco Prado. I apologise to all of my Australian friends. I know you're not going to be too happy about that one, but dude, Francisco Prado is an up-and-coming prospect, man. He's 11-0, 11 finishes, somewhat short-notice opponent again, because Jenny Mullarkey was meant to fight somebody else on this card, which would have been a fun fight. I believe he was meant to fight Nasrat Haqparast. Haqparast withdrew, but now we've got Jenny Mullarkey versus Francisco Prado, which is going to be such a fun fight. Super young guy is Prado, but he's fought good guys, 13-3, 6-0, 8-2, 20-15. I guess it's not that good of a record, but it's still experience, you know what I mean? And Mullarkey, dude, this guy's going to try and brawl with Prado, and I think that's probably a good idea, but I think that Prado's probably going to be able to find something in the brawl. Do I think Mullarkey can win that fight? Absolutely, but I'm still going to side with the young, up-and-coming Francisco Prado, because I just believe in him as a prospect. I also think that, I don't think that he lost to he beat Michael Johnson, Jenny Mullarkey, that is, but it is what it is. I like Prado in the matchup by finish. He's 11-0, 11 finishes, just a great prospect, really. This fight here, I've closed my best fight odds tab because I'm a little bit silly, but this fight for some reason is on best fight odds when a lot of the card isn't. Bilder is your underdog actually, on some bookies, and on some other bookies he's not. Shane Young is your favourite on some bookies, -120, -115, and Blake Bilder's the underdog on some. It's a pick'ems fight, which is why, well, the odds don't define my picks. As soon as this fight was booked, I had my pick. I knew it was going to be a controversial one. But I'm going with Shane Young in this matchup, dude. Blake Bilder, on his regional fights, man, like, you watch these fights and he's getting dropped, he's getting hurt. In every single one of his fights, his striking defense is a little bit scary. His chin's pretty decent because he is getting dropped and hurt all the time. But even then, it's still a little bit suspect because he is getting dropped and hurt I think Shane Young, if Shane Young's able to land on Blake Bilder, he's a city kickboxing guy, he'll be able to capitalize on it a little bit better than quite a few of these other guys, you know what I mean? And I know he looked so good against Alex Morgan, and I know he's going to have the wrestling and grappling advantage for sure in this fight, but I do like Shane Young on the feet, so I'm going to be going with Shane Young by knockout in this matchup here. He's taken a long time off, about a year and a half off, after he lost to Omar Morales and Ludovic Klein, which was a pretty bad showing for Shane, I'll be honest, but I think he can get past Blake Bilder, man. Blake Bilder, I think it's a favourable matchup for Shane Young. You know, a lot of people are going to say it's a favourable matchup for Blake Bilder. They're trying to get him the win because he's undefeated, but his striking defense is a little bit scary, and especially fighting someone with a reach advantage, someone that's going to be able to utilise the reach advantage. I like Shane Young in this matchup. I watched an interview. He seems pretty dialed in. He seems pretty focused on the fight, and I do trust him to win this fight here. So Shane Young is the favourite on some books, the underdog on others. Is what it is. Loma Lookboonmee versus Elise Reed. I think you've just got to go with Loma Lookboonmee in this one here. She is still a little bit undersized for women's strawweight, which is interesting because she did fight at 105 pounds prior to the UFC, but she does have pretty good striking and kickboxing, good Muay Thai as well, obviously. Just beat Denise Gomez, who was a short notice opponent, but that was a pretty fun fight. Denise Gomez put her in some weird positions on the ground, which she was able to escape. She did lose to Lupita Godinez, but that happens. She's also beaten Sam Hughes and Jin Yu Fry. Pretty good wins, I guess. I do think she can get past Elise Reed, who has looked good somewhat in her career. Fought Sajara Eubanks on short notice, was just outsized there. Bounced back and beat Corey McKenna. Lost to Sam Hughes. Like, I don't know, she's just so up and down. And then she beat Melissa Martinez. I think Melissa Martinez at one point is like a world kickboxing champion. Who knows? I'm going with Loma Lookboonmee though. Interesting fight. Kleydson Rodrigues versus Shannon Ross. I think you should look forward to this fight. It's going to be fun. But I do think that Kleydson Rodrigues gets it done. Kleydson Rodrigues is a very good fighter. There's no odds for this fight, obviously. I think he got robbed against CJ Vergara, man. I really don't see how you can give CJ Vergara that fight whatsoever. But Kleydson Rodrigues is very, very good striker. He's very fancy as well with it. He throws a lot of spinning attacks. Threw a lot of spinning kicks on his highlight reel when I was picking him to beat Santo Curatolo. And he looked incredible in that fight, man. And I think that a lot of people were expecting him to look really good over CJ Vergara. And he kind of did. But it did kind of let us down a little bit. Shannon Ross lost his Dana White's Contender Series fight. But he fought with some sort of crazy illness. I'm not too sure what it was. But he's got past that now. And now he's got the fight in Australia. I like Kleydson Rodrigues in this fight here. Shannon Ross is a pretty solid striker, and he was able to land some pretty good shots on Vinicius Salvador. But to be fair, for the most part, it was Shannon Ross getting beaten up a little bit. Not going to lie, because Salvador was pretty big for the weight class and had crazy power, which is insane. But I do like Kleydson Rodrigues to win a decision. It should be a fun kickboxing matchup, though, in my opinion. Joshua Culibao versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. I'm going to be open and honest with you boys. This is not a fight I'm that confident on. It's still a fight I'm going to have to look into a little bit more. You're going to call me crazy, man, because a lot of people are going to disagree with this take, but I'm still not 100% sold on Melsik Baghdasaryan as like an up-and-coming prospect, because Joshua Culibao's the younger guy. I would argue he's got the better wins in the UFC, like his 2-fight win streak is Shayla Nurdenbeki and Sungwoo Choi, and Melsik Baghdasaryan just beat Bruno Souza and Colin Angle, and I think Bruno Souza was a short-notice replacement as well. I like Joshua Culibao at the moment. Will that pick probably change? Potentially. Like, it's not a confident pick at all, so I'm going to move forward in the video, but I do like Culibao by decision just at the moment. But let's move on. Jack Jenkins versus Don Shainis. I'm pretty confident in Jack Jenkins to get this one done here. He looked... Dude, that was scary, dude. A pop-up ad with a video just popped up and scared the crap out of me. Dude, I hope you guys didn't hear that. Oh my goodness, I would have just looked like an idiot. That scared the shit out of me. Anyway, Jack Jenkins... okay, I'm going to keep it in the video, whatever. Jack Jenkins versus Don Shainis. I've got Jack Jenkins. I like him kind of everywhere in the fight, to be honest. He's got good wrestling and grappling. He's got good striking. And John Shainis just looked really bad in his UFC debut, and I guess in hindsight his wins aren't really that great in the regional scene. Like, I know Cody Fistfizz is a former UFC fighter, but he didn't have a good run. Jay Ellis may be the greatest fighter of all time. He beat Chris Lencioni. That's a very well-aging win. Lencioni just recently beat Cody Law, I think, by split decision, but at Bellator. But I've got to go Jack Jenkins here. I think he's the better striker. I think the fight's going to take place on the feet. Don Shainis is going to try and get the first round KO over Jack Jenkins, but I don't think he's going to find it. I think Jenkins finishes him in the second and the third rounds on the feet as well. This next fight is going to be the absolute banger of the night. This fight is a fight which you cannot look away from your TV. If you've got any plans on getting snacks or whatever before the main card, do not do it during this fight. Like, this is going to be crazy. Tyson Pedro's got 9 wins. All 9 of those wins are in the first round. Mingyang's got 16 wins. All 16 of those wins are in the first round. Like, it's going to be such an insane fight. I think Tyson Pedro's got a grappling advantage here. And on the feet, it is going to be fun. I do think Pedro probably is maybe the better striker as well. Like, maybe it's a setup fight for Tyson Pedro, maybe it's not. But I'm going to tell you this one thing, though. A lot of people are going to underrate Mingyang big time in this fight. Mingyang was a plus 450 underdog against George Tokos. Schooled him on the feet in the boxing, knocked him out brutally in the first round. Like, you know when after the fight, the referee raises the winner's hand? So when they were doing that to Mingyang, George Tokos was still unconscious in the background. It was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad KO. If you want to watch it, I actually have a YouTube Shorts video on the KO. It was pretty brutal. But I do like Tyson Pedro here. But you got to look at the fights that he's been winning recently, like Ike Villanueva and Harry Hunsucker. They're not the 2 highest level guys in the UFC, you know what I mean? And before that, he hadn't fought for like 3 years, but he's got really good kickboxing. He's still got solid grappling. Mingyang, as I said, he's going to be underrated in the matchup. But I don't really like the fact that he's getting finished a lot as well in his fights. Like, he's got a few losses, and they're all by finish except for one, I think, and most of them are by finish in the first or second round as well. Like, he's a kill or be killed fighter. I think he's going to have a very exciting UFC run, but I don't think it's going to start with a win over Tyson Pedro. So give me Pedro by knockout in the first round. Maybe Zhang can make something happen with his crispy boxing, but I think Pedro's going to get it done. Speaking of crispy boxing, Randy Brown versus Jack Della Maddelena here. I like Jack Della Maddelena in the matchup quite a bit. Do I like him minus 350 enough? Not really. I don't know if the minus 350 is super warranted, but I do think Jack Della Maddelena does get it done, dude. I think that he's such a good prospect. I mean, he's ESPN Prospect of the Year. He's on a 3-fight first-round KO streak in the UFC, which is fantastic for him. And he looked pretty good on Dana White's Contender Series fight as well. Knocked out Pete Rodrigues in the first round. Short notice replacement, though. Knocked out Ramazan Ameev in the first round. Knocked out Danny Roberts in the first round. I don't think he knocks out Randy Brown in the first round, but I do think he's going to get a finish in the second or the third rounds at some point. Randy Brown went to a decision with Francisco Trinaldo. If Jack Della Maddelena fought Francisco Trinaldo, Jack Della Maddelena would knock him out in the first round. So, and even then, like, I don't think he beat Chaos Williams either. Like, Chaos Williams was dropping Randy Brown, and I think that Jack Della Maddelena is going to be able to find the same shots. And even then, Jack Della Maddelena throws more volume as well. Like, the boxing of Jack Della Maddelena is very, very good. We've seen good grappling out of him too. I think he does find a KO in this fight. Do I like him at minus 350? Not necessarily. I think it's a little bit wide, but I do think he gets it done. Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menifield here. I've got quite a few Australian friends on Instagram, and, you know, we talk a little bit, and it's nothing personal, guys. It's a fight prediction, you know what I mean? And I'm going with Alonzo Menifield on this one here. Jimmy Crute, man, he's leaving himself to be hit quite a bit in his fights. I do like it when he tried to lean on his grappling a little bit. He fought on stand-up with Anthony Smith and didn't really look all that good. Got knocked out pretty clean by Jimahal Hill. Got finished by Misa Sarkinov a few years ago. Like, I just think Alonzo Menifield's going to find that KO blow, man. I feel like Crute tries to brawl with people that he shouldn't be brawling with. And I can see him try to brawl with Alonzo Menifield, and Menifield just finding that KO blow and knocking out Jimmy Crute. So give me Alonzo Menifield by KO in the first round. He just did it to Misha Sarkinov. He just did it to Esker Mozharov, but, you know, that was, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he did lose tonight, but I still think he finds it on Jimmy Crute, man. I just think that Jimmy Crute, he tries to strike with people that he shouldn't be striking with, and he's getting caught doing so. So I think Alonzo Menifield finds it, and there's no odds on that fight. The next one is Dustin Tafa versus Parker Porter. There's really no odds on any of these fights, is there? Oh, well, whatever. I'm going with Justin Tafa. He's a minus 150 or so favourite here. I think he's going to find the KO over Parker Porter, man. Once again, we're talking about a very good kickboxer, very good boxer. Both of the Tafa brothers are pretty good. I think there's actually 3 Tafa brothers. I'm not too sure what the other one's up to, but I know that they were all training at one point, I believe. Tafa's had a pretty tough run in the UFC, but this guy must have dirt on Dana White. Well, there's absolutely no way he doesn't. He was 3-1 in his MMA career, and 0-1 in the UFC with a KO in the first round, lost to Jorgen De Castro, and he was the featured fight. The featured fight of a John Jones card with 2 title fights over Derek Lewis. Can someone please explain what was going on? Like, was Juan Adams a super hyped up prospect at the time? I don't really understand. Like, you know, like Derek Lewis, I guess he probably wasn't the hyped up guy he was now, but like, dude, like he was so high up on the card, on the John Jones card, which is crazy. But I think that Justin Tafa finds a KO on Parker Porter. Parker Porter's not getting any younger, you know what I mean? And he's you know, like he's beating guys that he should be beating, like Alan Bordeaux, Chase Sherman, and Josh Parisian, but they're not really well-aging wins, are they? You know what I mean? He just lost to Jailton Almeida, but that happens, dude. I'm not going to blame him for that. I think he just gets knocked out by Justin Tafa, man. I think Tafa finds some sort of KO blow using his kickboxing. I'm going to go with the hands, though. I think he finds a KO with his hands. And this one here, Yair Rodrigues versus Josh Emmett. I was quite surprised at how close the odds were in this matchup here, because Yair Rodrigues is only like minus 150 in the fight. I think he should be a wider favourite, dude. I think he's going to school Josh Emmett on the feet. And this could age very badly, and I could look like a complete idiot, and people probably clip it and put it on Twitter. But, dude, Yair Rodrigues, you've got to look at, like, what's going on here. Like, he fought Max Holloway after about 2 years off because he was suspended by USADA for dodging tests. So we don't talk about that. He come back after a couple of years off against Max Holloway and had a pretty competitive fight on the feet, and Max Holloway at one point was shooting for takedowns to secure the rounds because Yair Rodrigues was looking so good on the feet against him. And then even in the grappling against Brian Ortega, I know it was a TKO due to shoulder injury, but Rodrigues put him in that position, you know. So I like the Rodrigues on the feet. I know he hasn't really like won a fight properly without an injury in like 3 years now, which was against Jeremy Stevens, but I think that Yair Rodrigues, man, on the feet against Josh Emmett, I think he's just going to look really good using his range. I know he's only got a 1-inch reach advantage, but he's quite a bit taller than Josh Emmett. And I think he's just going to kickbox Emmett and make Emmett look a little bit silly for 5 rounds. I mean, did Emmett really beat Calvin Kattar? I don't think so. Did Emmett really beat Dan Ige? I mean, it's still up for debate as well. Like, you know, like it's just a bit... I just think Yair Rodrigues is just going to be so much better of a kickboxer than Josh Emmett. I think the fight does take place on the feet, so give me Rodrigues to win by decision. I think you're going to win a decision. Maybe you can get a late finish, but you got to go with Rodrigues. Decision in this fight. The next fight is... I'm just seeing how long the video's gone for. It's not too bad. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. The main event, as I said, very top-heavy card. These 2 fights are amazing. To be fair, the 3 fights on the main card, they're not really all that, like, pay-per-view, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to sell pay-per-views. But yeah, it is what it is, man. We just didn't get Kai Kara France or Robert Whittaker, which really would have made the card. Or Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's got a fight booked. I'll probably make a video about that one tomorrow. Or I'll pre-record it because I've got a concert tomorrow. But anyway, Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. You've just got to go with Islam Makhachev, don't you? He's a pretty big favourite, which may be a little bit disrespectful to Volkanovski, but... at the end of the day, man, it's just so much smaller than Islam Makhachev. I think if Volkanovski was the same size as Islam Makhachev, he would beat Islam just because he's, in my opinion, probably the most well-rounded fighter in the UFC. He's got really, really good striking. Like, this is a guy that just outstruck Max Holloway, who was regarded as one of the best strikers at 145, one of the best boxers in the UFC. Volkanovski just outstruck him, and Volkanovski's got good grappling. We showed really good defensive grappling against Brian Ortega. He's shown very good ground and pound in the past as well. Like, against Brian Ortega, offensive ground and pound, offensive grappling, good wrestling as well, but... when it comes to the size, he's so much smaller than Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev is massive for lightweight. Like, he's huge for lightweight. And Volkanovski's pretty small for featherweight, you know what I mean? Like, he's not really that big. Like, he's fought at featherweight on short notice before. He's never had any problems making weight, to my knowledge. And it's just kind of like one of those situations, man, where... I just don't think that Volkanovski's going to be able to keep up with the size of Makhachev. So I've got Makhachev by submission in the 3rd round. Do I think Volkanovski's going to have his moments? Yes, I think he's going to probably defend a couple of takedowns from Makhachev. Maybe get put in some bad positions and escape those bad positions because he is so much smaller. Like, he's quite short, so he can use those little legs, in his words, to kick him off and all this and that sort of thing. But I think at the end of the day, Makhachev's just so big, and he's so much bigger than Volkanovski, and I think that's kind of just what's going to happen here. I think he's not going to get outclassed. I think just what's going to happen is he's just going to get beaten by a bigger man, you know what I mean? I think that's just what's going to happen in this fight here. I think Volkanovski's going to show good skills, but he's just going to show that he's not that big at 145, fighting a massive lightweight. So I think Islam Makhachev gets it done by submission. In the 3rd round, I'm going to go with the rear naked choke up against the cage. after wearing Volkanovski down for the first 2 rounds. But I don't think Volkanovski's going to take too much damage. And I think what's going to end up happening is Volkanovski probably defends his belt maybe in a few months' time, maybe in July. Like maybe we do like on International Fight Week. Maybe John Jones returns against Stipe Miocic if he wins the fight against Gane on the first week of July, and then we can do Volkanovski versus Yair Rodrigues or Emmett, and that's kind of what we'll do. And Islam Makhachev will probably just sit out for ages and wait for the Abu Dhabi card or whatever, and I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to be going with Alexander Volkanovski to lose. Sorry, I'm going with Islam Makhachev. Sorry, to win this fight. I think Islam Makhachev gets it done by submission. I think he's just going to be too big for Volk, and I think that's just what it comes down to. Stronger than Volkanovski, bigger than Volkanovski, the better wrestler than Volkanovski. Technically, Volkanovski is probably the better striker. Well, he is the better striker. Just outboxed Max Holloway. I mean, but Islam Makhachev is going to be powerful, more powerful because he's just so much bigger. Volkanovski is going to be a lot faster, but I just like the thing about Volkanovski is he doesn't really have all that much finishing potential, you know what I mean? Like he didn't really knock down or knock out Zhang, and he was beating him up. He didn't finish Max Holloway even though he cut him up early. Like he didn't finish Brian Ortega even though he had him absolutely out of there. You know, and it's just kind of one of those things where I feel like if Volkanovski wins, he's going to have to be able to outclass Islam Makhachev for at least 3 rounds to win a decision. Unless he can catch Makhachev with something crazy and bring up some power to 155 and use that skill, technical striking that he's got to find a KO blow on the feet, I think Makhachev's got him everywhere, man. I think Volkanovski's best chances on the feet. Maybe you could put Islam Makhachev on his back, potentially, because a lot of time wrestlers that get in dominant positions don't like being put on their back, but I just think Islam Makhachev's got him, man. But I think Volkanovski's going to show skills. He's going to show why he's one of the best in the world, but at the end of the day, he's just going to get beaten up by someone that's bigger than him. So give me Makhachev by submission in the 3rd round.